Hello, BookTube. And welcome to your Daily Penguin. The Bean and I love to bring you our Penguin classics, don't we? Don't we? We do. We love to bring Penguin classics to the people. We do. Squirt, squirt. She's feeling a little antsy because it's almost time for our big walk. It's bright and sunny here in Boston, but freezing cold. So we'll just have to make the best of that. I will walk her until I can't take it anymore. But in the meantime, we're doing our Penguin Classic tour. Instead of doing a normal shelf tour, I bring down 10 or 15 books in one video. I'm doing it basically one book at a time. Although not today. I'm going book by book and author by author and era by era. And I found the next batch of groups of books that we came to today sort of grouped together naturally. So I'm doing more than one because they were grouped on the shelf. I think I've mentioned a few times on this series that for a brief period I was seized with an organizing yen on one of the bookcases that makes up my back wall of Penguin Classics, and that yen lasted for that one bookcase and then petered out. So this one bookcase, things are kind of sort of organized. I mean, there's a little organization elsewhere, but not much. And that's why these three today go together. The first one that we're looking at is 3 plays by John Webster. And this is edited by David Gunby, and it includes The White Devil, The Duchess of Malfi, and The Devil's Law Case. And then the next one that we're doing is 3 plays by John Ford, and it includes 'Tis Pity She's a Whore, The Broken Heart, and Perkin Warbeck. So you get 3, and this is edited by Keith Sturgis. And in these 2 books, you get 3 plays by each of these playwrights who, Webster was a contemporary of Shakespeare, and Ford came just a tiny bit later. And the 2 of them are often studied together. Their plays are often read together. I gotta confess, their plays don't a whole lot do it for me. I'm very grateful that Penguin Classics has always shown a good deal of love for plays, for drama, for reprinting these things. I know that it's not entirely their own editorial choice. These things are going to be popular in schools, so of course you're going to want that trade, so you will make books collecting these things. But even so, seeing these 2, finding Webster and Ford together like this, has underscored for me that I do not at the present moment possess a Penguin Classic of Ben Jonson or Thomas Middleton. I don't have playwrights I actually like. These 2 I only sort of like. What are you doing? You're crazy. What are you doing? Frida, what are you doing? Why can't you settle down? You're thrashing around over there. What's the matter? Oh, baby. Here, let's put her on camera again, see if that helps any. Your friends are wondering why you're losing it. Why are you losing your cookies? Why? 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 I know why. I told them why. Because you want to go out. Well, don't. Your face is a mess. You're on camera, and your face is a mess. I'm going to put you down again, but I don't want you to thrash around on the bed. All right, baby? I'm trying to dispense wisdom. She's probably going to thrash around again. Anyway, as I was saying, one of the side effects of this whole waddle through the Penguin Classic collection is that it's showing me what I don't have, as well as showing me what I do. A number of you have pointed out when we were in the ancient world of Greece and Rome how many things you were expecting to see that didn't show up. And that's happenstance. I am not a book collector. As I've made clear on a number of occasions here, I'm not a book collector. I'm not someone who's going to go out and look for things that I don't have. Instead, I was spoiled by the pre-COVID world of waiting for those things to come to me. So I found both of these things at random. I mean, now it's not quite so random because at least before the world changed, Penguin Classics was sending me their new releases. So I'm slowly building a library in a non-random fashion by getting everything new that they make. But as far as the old stuff goes, I've had Penguin Classic black spine trade paperbacks of Thomas Middleton and of Ben Jonson. I don't have either one. They also, as far as I remember, Penguin Classic also does a couple of Elizabethan and Jacobean play collections that I don't have. And that's just happenstance. Same thing with no Plautus, not all of Euripides. It's just that I haven't found these things out in the wild. But I have these two to show you, but I also have one other thing to show you, and that's this. This is from much later. Those two were from the 70s, I think, or the 80s. This is from 2014, and this is John Webster and John Ford in one volume, where you're getting 2 plays from each instead of 3. So The Devil's Law Case and Perkin Warbeck are dumped in favor of the 2 probably most famous plays of either playwright, with a new introduction and new notes by Jane Kingsley Smith. So really, I have for these 2 playwrights that I don't particularly love, I have an extremely good representation in Penguin Classics. I have 3 whole volumes on the shelf that I don't consult that often, not nearly as much as I would, for instance, a Middleton volume, and that I what will be the reason for me to have them? I scarcely ever quote from them. There's only one of these. Only Perkin Warbeck do I know well enough to maybe want to quote bits of it, but I never would, because nobody's heard of these playwrights. Not in the general reading public. No one reads them anymore, except for schools or period specialists or real literary wonks. So this is another example where not only does my waddle through my Penguin Classics show me what I don't have, but it also really shows me, makes me ask what I want and what I don't want. Because I have lots and lots of penguins. A lot of the shelves you see behind me are double stacked, and that's bad. I don't want them to be double stacked. It's just because I have so many. This is a perfect example. Do I need a volume with 3 plays by John Ford and a volume with 3 plays by John Webster? If I have a volume with 2 plays by each, do I really need? I'm not sure that I know these playwrights well enough to even rank how good the critical apparatus is on any one of these 3. Probably the worst critical apparatus of the 3 of these, whichever it is, would be plenty good enough for me, for my purposes. So, I don't know. It's another example where I'm looking at these things and all 3 of these volumes are taking up space on the shelf, and maybe the yardstick to go by is that they shouldn't. I mean, Webster and Ford, I know them a bit. I've read them, and maybe I like them only well enough to have Project Gutenberg. Electronic copies that you download copies of these plays from Project Gutenberg. They're cleanly done. They're perfectly curated. They don't probably have any critical introductions or notes at all, but you get the plays, and Project Gutenberg doesn't mark their electronic copies, so they're yours. They're going to be on your device forever. You can transfer it to some other device. You can transfer it to some other person. It's the way ebooks should be. I don't know. I don't know. These things they put me in a quandary. These kinds of, these entries in our Waddle Through My Penguins put me in a quandary. Unlike yesterday, for instance, where the Penguin Classic Orlando Furioso is the only English version to have. Some of you have mentioned having prose versions. I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that. And also I love, it's not only the only English verse translation of Ariosto to have, but it's fantastic. I absolutely love it in its own right. Then we move one section over on the same bookshelf, and you get these things that don't resonate like that at all. So this is good. In the long run, it's good because it's forcing me to rethink my Penguin collection, which is always fun to do. So I'm gonna wrap this up for now. Your Penguins for today are, of course, recommends. Of course, I recommend that you read especially Webster, because you will have read Shakespeare. So it's always good when you're forced to read Shakespeare in school, and I would hope that after you're forced to read him, you get the bug and you realize that you want to keep reading him for the rest of your life. But it's really good when that happens for you to read playwrights around him. Marlowe is the most famous example that people are often also forced to read. But Ben Jonson, Ford, Webster, these are people you should read for a whole bunch of contextual reasons. It's just I don't know many. Probably I'll hear from every aficionado on email, but I don't know many people that read them for many other reasons than that. And maybe I'm wrong about that, but I'm definitely one of those people. I read them for context and for interesting critical insights by whoever's editing them, but not really for enjoyment. I can read Middleton for enjoyment, especially The Changeling. But anyway, so your Penguin Classic today is, of course, a recommendation, but maybe not an enthusiastic recommendation. It's more an academic than a personal recommendation. But that will change. We are now done with, we're going down to the bottom shelf of this first bookcase. So we are almost done. Another week and we'll be done with this first bookcase. And who knows what's on that bottom shelf? I haven't looked, but I will. So we will dig right in tomorrow. And I'll see you then. Thank you, BookTube.